Magical Christmas Tales. The Magical Sleigh Ride. Once upon a time in a faraway land there lived a little girl called Tansy. Tansy lived with her mum, dad, little brother Daniel, and her beloved grandma. Tansy and her family were very happy. The land where they lived was beautiful and bright, the sun always shone, it seldom rained, and it was never ever cold. Sometimes, when Tansy was tucked up in bed, her grandmother would tell her tales about the chilly lands in the north where she had lived as a girl. Tansy loved hearing about her grandma's homeland, and her favourite stories were the ones about snow. Sometimes it would snow all night long, and I would wake up to a crispy white world, Grandma would tell her. When you walked on the snow, it would crunch beneath your feet, and you would leave perfect footprints behind you. And it was really soft. You could pick it up and squeeze it to make snowballs. Then you threw them at your friends. It must have been fun, laughed Tansy. It was, smiled Grandma. But my favourite thing was when it snowed on Christmas Day. We would make a snowman before breakfast, then go inside and warm our freezing hands by the fire. I would love snow on Christmas Day, sighed Tansy. One day, not long before Christmas, Tansy had an idea. Let's write a letter to Santa, she said to Daniel, asking him if we can have snow on Christmas Day. Daniel thought it was a brilliant idea, so Tansy wrote a letter to Santa Claus in her best handwriting. It read, Dear Santa, I live in a sunny land and I have never seen snow before. My grandma says snow is so cold you can make snowballs and snowmen out of it. Can I please have some snow for Christmas? My brother would like some too. Love from Tansy. When Tansy had finished, she and Daniel both signed the letter and then put it in an envelope. On the outside of the envelope, Tansy wrote, To Santa Claus, North Pole. Grandma gave them a stamp and then they mailed it straight away. A week before Christmas, Tansy's dad brought the Christmas tree down from the attic and the children got to work decorating it. They covered it with balls made of fluffy cotton and put a shining star on top. Then Tansy went outside. Grandma had told her that before it snows, the whole sky is covered with a grey cloud. Tansy looked up. The sky was a clear blue and the sun shone bright and hot. There wasn't a cloud anywhere. I wonder if Santa got my letter, she whispered to herself. Maybe he's looking at it now and getting the snow ready to bring to us on Christmas Day. All that week, Tansy kept looking at the sky, waiting for the clouds, but every day the sky was blue and the sun shone brightly. On Christmas Eve, the children went to bed early. Tansy found it hard to get to sleep. She was so excited at the thought of waking up on Christmas morning and finding snow that she didn't feel sleepy at all. She wondered how Santa would bring the snow. Would he bring it in a sack the same way he brought the presents? She started to worry that when he brought the snow, the hot sun would melt it before she had a chance to see it. Tansy lay in bed tossing and turning. Suddenly she heard a noise. It sounded like bells tinkling in the night sky. She got up and looked out of the window. It had become dark suddenly, but in the moonlight on the grass below, she could see some strange animals. Tansy remembered seeing some like them on a Christmas card and realized that they must be Santa's reindeer. They were harnessed to a brightly painted sleigh. Next to them, dressed all in red, his face almost covered by a long white beard, was Santa Claus. When he saw Tansy, Santa waved. Hurry up, Tansy, he called. We're going on a magical journey. Go and get Daniel. Tansy woke her brother. Come quickly, she whispered excitedly. Santa's here. Tansy and Daniel quickly dressed and ran into the garden. Santa was waiting for them with a huge smile on his face. Come, he said, holding out his hands. I have something for you. And he gave each of the children a bundle of warm clothes. There for later when it starts to get cold, he explained. Where's the snow, Santa? Asked Daniel. I can't bring the snow to you, chuckled Santa. It would only melt in the sun, so you're going to the snow. Now giddy up, my trusty reindeer, he cried. Fly as fast as you can. The children held on tightly as the reindeer leaped into the air, pulling the sleigh behind them. Higher and higher they climbed until the ground was far below them. Then the sleigh straightened up, and soon they were flying along beneath the stars. The magical sleigh ride began. They flew over forests and rivers, jagged mountain tops and sandy deserts. Sometimes all the children could see was a mile upon mile of dark countryside, and then the blackness would be broken as they passed over big cities scattered with a million lights. "Now put on your warm clothes," Santa told them. "We're nearly there." After a few minutes, the sleigh landed. The children looked around in amazement. The whole world was completely white. Hills, fields, trees, and houses were all covered in what looked like powdery white sugar. Everything sparkled like diamonds in the moonlight. Tansy took off one of her gloves and touched the snow with a finger. It was just as Grandma had described it, soft and yet firm, dry and yet wet. And it was very, very cold. A door opened in a house nearby, and the children saw a smiling woman standing in the doorway. "Welcome to the North Pole, children," she smiled. "I'm Mrs. Claus." For the next few hours, the children had a wonderful time. Santa introduced them to his helpers and showed them the workshop where their toys were made. Then came the best part of all, playing in the snow. They made trails of footprints. Next, they had a snowball fight. And of course, they made a snowman. They used 2 of Santa's spare black buttons for eyes and a carrot for his nose. Tansy wrapped her new scarf around his neck, and Daniel put his woolly hat on his head. Then everybody held hands and danced around him, singing a song. "I'm a jolly snowman, round and neat. I've got no hands and got no feet. I like the cold but not the heat. Seeing you is such a treat." They danced and sang until they could dance no more. Then they went inside the house and warmed themselves by the fire. The children were so comfortable that their eyes started to close, and soon they were fast asleep. When Tansy awoke, it was morning. She was in her own bed in her own bedroom. The curtains were open and the sun was shining, but there was no snow outside. Everything looked the same as usual. Tansy remembered her nighttime adventure. Had it all been a dream? It had felt so real. Meeting Santa, the journey in the sleigh, dancing around the snowman. She could even remember the song they had sung. Feeling a bit confused, she quickly got dressed and went downstairs. "Merry Christmas, Tansy," Grandma said, handing her a small package. It was round and hard and was wrapped in snowflake-covered paper. On a little label it said, "To Tansy, love Santa." Tansy opened the present carefully. Inside was a beautiful glass ball filled with snow. It was a snow globe. Inside there were 2 children and 3 elves dancing around a snowman. Her heart gave a leap, so it hadn't been a dream after all. Tansy shook the globe and it began to play a familiar tune. "It's our snowman song," laughed Tansy. "And that's us, dancing around the snowman, just like we did last night." Tansy's parents and Grandma stared at the globe in amazement. "How did you get in there?" asked Dad. "You'd have to ask Santa that, but I do know he gave us what we asked for," laughed Tansy. "Snow on Christmas Day."